All right, ladies and gentlemen, we going to do this live.
Know it's been a mighty long time since we've gone live, but here we are. I apologize. This time last year, I was spending time in the Caribbean getting answers from the wise ones and the elders. So now we are back once again. I know it's going to be a while before some people actually get a chance to watch this video, but I'm just going to put it out there. We have a lot of things to discuss, a lot of things to get into, and we're gonna have a lot of fun this evening. I'm not gonna be on here long at all. We're just gonna get some things started. Hopefully, some are in the chat and they can hear it loud and clear. And if not, we're gonna make it work. So if you have any questions, you can put it in the chat. Or if you don't have any questions, you can still put them in the chat. So we're gonna put it out there and we're gonna make it do what it do. Yeah, it's been a long time. Been a long time. I shouldn't have left you. Ah, yeah. We're gonna talk about these 20 and odd negras that folk keep talking about, and some people still keep using the terminology that's not accurate. So I'm going to call upon some people that are much wiser than I am to have this discussion. And I will say this, Gabrielle Union, I gotta give you a wrench. Marlon P. Hartnebrig, the mixed master, I gotta get you a wrench too. Just to make sure, because you're gonna have some knuckleheads that's gonna try to come in here and start talking wild and talking crazy. And we don't want that to be happening. Hold on. Can y'all hear me? I want to make sure y'all can hear me before I keep going. Someone tapped into my flow, and I want to make sure you all can hear me. So hold on a second. No, we should be good. We should be good to go. Like I say, I'm not going to be long. I just want to jump into some stuff and dispel some of these myths and get it going. All right. I don't know why my headset shut out on me. But here's where we are, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to talk about these 20 and odd niggers, because once we get these 20 and odd niggers straight, then everything else will fall into place. Everything else will fall into place. Like I said, I apologize for leaving y'all hanging for so long, but it is what it is. But now we are back. And I'm always going to give you something so you can go and do your own research independently. So let's go ahead and delve into who are these 20 and odd niggers and what took place when they talk about 1619. We got 1619 project going on and people trying to do certain things and folk getting mad at schools, talking about, well, take critical race theory out of the schools, even though they're not technically being taught in the schools, but then they are. So when we talk about this 1619 project, and all these other people want to talk about their African American. If you want to be African American, and then blessyourheart.com, you can knock yourself up and go ahead and be African American. I'm not going to hold it against you. I'm really not going to hold it against you if that's what you want to be. But we have to change the narrative for those that are thinking I'm African American because someone in some book told me this. So now, here we are. 1619. Let's talk about what came to the shores, what ship came to the shores and hit the Atlantic coast. Now, mind you, this ship that they're talking about, the British brought in, was a stolen Portuguese vessel. Keep that in mind. I want you to hold on to that. It was a stolen Portuguese vessel. And I also want to keep you in mind that it was the British that initially started calling the American Indians Africans. They started this trend in the mid 1700s, which is why when we start talking about the Garinagu or the Garifuna, as I talked about before, that they were saying that these were come on a slave ship, and slave ship crashed into the island and turned. You gonna tell me one slave ship, or now they say 3 slave ships with a couple of dozen people turned all that I'm heard out there, in my words, in the words of my brother, no sellout could I be heard. Oh snap, we got the Ohio player roller coaster of love. Say what? Yeah. Like I said, for those that may not understand, I'll see Ohio player. You already up in there. You already know. Thank you, Brother Kerry. You already know what's going on with these 20 and odd Negras that was stolen, that they say came off the coast of Africa to come over here. Well, I'm here to dispel some myths. And you can find this information, and I'll put it in the comment section later, because I really want people to see what's going on. I really want people to see what's happening and why we are in the state that we are in. Why these people are sitting here telling you that you're African when you're not. The first source that I'm going to give you is from Brown University. You know, Brown University, one of those Ivy League schools. It's in their library, and I'm gonna post it in there. You can see it https://library.brown.edu. And it's going to tell you about who are these natives and indigenous slavery. It's called Brazil, the 5 Centuries of Change. So I'm going to hit you with this first source, and then I'm going to come back and keep hitting you with the heat. Because people are sitting here and they keep saying over and over and over, and you got to remember that these Portuguese and these Spaniards that were coming over here were of darker hue. So people keep trying to mix in, talking about, oh, we are the same people and this and that. and blah, blah, blah. No, they came over here specifically to enslave the American Indian, to put the American Indian to work. I want y'all to stay with me. Again, this is from Brown University Library. Told you they know more about us than we know about ourselves. There's a group that, matter of fact, I'm going to put the name in the chat so that way you already know. I'm going to put this name in the chat, and I want you to remember this name. Tupinamba, or the Tupi people. You will see them and you know who they are, but you don't know who they are. They are off the coast of South America, which is where they started. All of the indigenous people of the Caribbean islands, the Arawak, they'll tell you that they started in South America. That's why they all come back to the coast. And then I'm going to put in another name that other people call them this. They call them Costa Negras, the blacks of the coast. That was the name given to them by the Portuguese and the Spanish. The blacks of the coast. These Costa Negras still live on the coast today. If you go to the coast of starting what we call Mesoamerica or the Yucatan, all in South America, why is it that these Costa Negras tell you that they're Caribbean? All of that's still the Caribbean. Why is that? But we're going to get into that in just a little bit. Now, I'm going to tell you what the Tupinamba. The Tupinamba, it tells you, is a member of a group of American Indian peoples who lived along the broad stretch of the Brazilian coast from the vicinity of the Guanabara Bay to the mouth of the Amazon River. It also refers to the extinct, the extinct language of the Tupinamba. But you're going to find out this Tupinamba is nothing but the language of the Arawak, which is nothing with it, people on the islands and the some things that we say, even break. Oh man, I don't want to go there yet. I have to come back and do that again when I'm talking about these Gullah Geechee. Some of them are talking about they African and they not. You Gullah Geechee. Come on now. Somebody in the chat, I want you to do something for me. Can y'all do this? I need somebody to do this for me because, you know. Oh, there you go. There you go. Roller coaster. They don't know about that. I keep trying to tell them. All they have to do when they click on the video or look up the book, they go tell you about the black devils that they talk about when you're getting into October, into October or 1st of November, when they talking about the dance of the dead, Day of the Dead, and dealing with the dance of the devil. I need someone to do me a favor. That's in the chat. Could someone just look up Salem witch trials? Could someone look up Salem witch trials for me? And then tell me the woman that they tried to say was an African woman that started all of this witchcraft that they're talking about dealing with the Salem witch trials. Could someone do that? And while y'all are doing that, when you look at a name, like I said, a name is everything. They try to tell you certain things that just doesn't make sense. While someone is doing that, but please, 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 by all means, just let's find her name. So when we find her name, you're gonna find out A whole lot. Then you're going to find out dealing with this woman and where she's from. Initially, they always try to say, oh, no, she's African. She's African. She's not African. Telling you where you're from. Anybody had that yet? You, Gabrielle Union, you say Mary Black. Nope. Keep going. Yep, she is Mary Black, all dressed in black. There you go. See, roller coaster. Yeah, you on to it. You on to it. You getting there. Let's get this. Yeah, let's talk about her for a little bit. Let's talk about Tituba for a little bit. See, they're gonna keep trying to tell you, and they're gonna keep trying to tell you these are Africans, and they're not Africans. So let's get into who she is and who she was. And there you go, Ohio, play out who she was. And it's going to tell you, and then all of a sudden it's going to say, well, could be African, but then they're going to go back and they're going to say something about where she's from. They're going to tell you that it says, although origins are debated, research has suggested that she is a South American native of the Tibito tribe, but you're going to find B's and P's are interchangeable. So now you're going to get into that Tupinamba. You're going to get into these same folk that I just put in the chat of the Carib tribe and sell the Barbados. From Barbados to New England. Not African. From South America, these same people, the Tupinamba that they keep talking about. I hope everybody's with me. I hope I haven't lost anyone. If I have, tell me to back the bus up, because I'll back the bus up, because I don't want to leave anybody behind on this trip, on this fantastic voyage. So you've been a long time. I shouldn't have left you. So now we discovering South America. Well, initially they were saying, all this writing kept saying African. And all that she was doing was teaching the European women how to survive dealing with herbs of this land. There's nowhere in the world that somebody's going to get off a slave ship coming from Africa and not know the soil, and not know the plants, not know the herbs, not know the animals, not know the climate. But then all of a sudden, you these great agriculturalists and wonderful farmers. Y'all know it doesn't work like that. Come on, son. Get out of here with that. Uh-oh. We got Special K up in this camp. Man, I shouldn't have left you. It's been a long time. Man, I need some of that fire you got, sir. I'm here to tell you. So now we already discovered dealing with this Salem witch that they called her. Again, I could talk about that. I'll tell you what she actually was at a different time, because I don't want to go too far and get off track, because you know how I could get. So it's telling you from this same group, and this same group of the Tupinamba will be the same group that you're going to find that these Garinagu, whatever they want to call themselves, Garifuna, all the same folk, they're going to tell you they're Carib, they're going to tell you they're Arawak, these are the same people. Don't let the smooth taste fool you and try to say, oh, a couple of ships done turned all of the Caribbean black. No. You'll find out that the British didn't start saying anything about Africans. The British that started that. They didn't start saying anything about Africans coming over here or being here or whatever as slaves until around 17 55. That's what they were trying to call the people, but the people knew that they weren't African. Two different groups of people, but we're gonna go there. We're gonna go there in just a minute. So again, we still at the Brown University Library. They know better. I know some people out here want to wing it, but the truth is hidden in a book because we don't like to read. So it says here that the first European settlers, in which we know who the first European settlers were, which were actually conquerors, conquistadors, invaders, colonizers, said they landed on the coast of Brazil of 1500, saw not only high mountains, but almost immediately people, and here's a quote, dark and entirely naked, with nothing to cover their private parts, carrying bows and arrows in their hands. These were the tribesmen of the Tupinamba, a language group who occupied most of the southern cone of South America. Said Tupi lived in a small mobile communities forced by weak soil that could not last long under the form of the slash and burn culture to move frequently. They wasn't moving frequently. It's the slash and burn culture that we still do. Europeans wasn't doing that. They didn't know anything about that. They kept putting crop at the crop at the crop at the crop, and it wouldn't grow. I'll give you an example. I'll go back to the Dust Bowl that took place in the 1930s. When they moved us out of the land, because they started moving us west and out of the Indian Removal Act, but then when they started coming west, they didn't know about the soil, so they just kept plowing and planting the same thing over and over and over again, and it created the Dust Bowl. So from the northern part of Oklahoma all the way up through Iowa was the Dust Bowl. So you got Kansas, Nebraska, all this, the middle of what we call North America, the buckle of the belt of North America. They didn't know anything about slash and burn. If you go down, that's why I say, if you're looking at the last part of the records, if you go down to the Yucatan, they still do the slash and burn now. They still do it now. And even the type of farming that they do, and I'll discuss that at another time, is what our grandmothers used to do, is they would grow their peas and their corn and everything else intertwined, and it looks like chaos to somebody that didn't know. They would let those crops grow up together. We got somebody in the chat, and I'm not going to pick on them, but I am going to pick on them. Greetings, Feather Dragon. Sister Gabrielle Union, I've had a look at some of your crops. Don't you let your herbs and fruits and vegetables kind of grow up together? You don't separate them, do you? You let them grow all up together. Oh, Miss Parker. How you doing, Miss Parker? Where's Gabrielle Union? She done fell asleep already. You somebody tell her to wake up. You let all the crops grow together. Because that is the way your crops are actually supposed to grow. Not the way Europeans do their crops. They can't even tell you why they purge the soil. But we can. Another subject for another time. Because I know my grandmother used to mix all that stuff up together. In her garden, she had a garden on the side of the house. On the side where it was cool, but then that sun would hit it just right to where it wouldn't be too hot. Okay. Somebody go figure it out. Yeah, she got all the windows open, Brother Kerry. That's why I said in the middle of the summer, letting all those cicadas and mosquitoes in. You better put some screens on those windows. So they telling you that they practice these weapons, bows and arrows, at a very young age and are great archers. And I know that you all can see uh, the map, the picture of the map that I have up. This is the early map of the Brazilian coastal line. They call this was part of the Miller map that it was created in 1519. I want y'all to remember that 1519, and you'll find it in the French National Library in Paris. And I'll share the picture a little bit later if I could. If you get a chance to blow it up, it shows you miniature Brazilian natives, the Tupi. It shows you who they are. And those don't look like people talking about they Native American today. Don't look like people that kind of look like us. The people back then, you telling me the Portuguese and didn't know how to draw? They didn't know their colors? Come on, son. Come on, son. They didn't know what they were doing. See, Miss Parker, she knows too, because Miss Parker be doing that too. Let it all come up together. They all get along just fine. Those cucumbers, sunflowers, all coming up together. Sunflowers show those cucumbers love, and those cucumbers show those sunflowers very much love. Come on, son. So now, let's get back to our regular scheduled program. Let's get back to the subject at hand, boys and girls, for those that may be listening a little bit later, because I know this is an advanced class that those in the chat now, but some that may catch on later, and some that'll put the thumbs down. And I know it's one individual that's still mad. I'm not even gonna give him energy. But you know, he like to go in to do all my videos no matter what I put in. He's the only one doing the thumbs down. Come on, son. So for the boys and girls that may be listening a little bit later, you can slow this down because there's a little icon that you can put on there, a little spoke that you can click, and you can slow it down. You can slow it down. And you can do this. If you hit it, tap it, it'll go back 10 seconds. Tap it again, it'll go back 20 seconds and keep going on and on. So you can slow it down and rewind it in case you miss something. It says these interactions developed into a more organized system of exporting resources than a localized industry based on involuntary labor of natives. It said the mission villages were established by the Jesuits and relied on slave labor from the very people the priests were trying to convert. Your original slaves in the Americas was the American Indian. With nobody being brought over here, and you're going to find out that the Portuguese and the Spaniards were saying, hey, we know it's difficult to try to enslave them. That's why the Portuguese showed love. They made them feel included in Brazil. And they tell them, oh, you all African. But that's why they said it was so many Africans brought over here, and I'm still waiting for that African song of lamentation. I'm still waiting for Umbulaka, Mbulaka, Bulaka stole 30 million of us. Umbulaka, Bulaka, Bulaka, they stole us from Africa. What are those songs of lamentation from the Africans that are over there? So you telling me 30 million people were stolen, were kidnapped from Africa, and no one wrote one song about it? There was no oral tradition passed down that all these West Africans keep telling us. We learned about the African triangular slave trade, transatlantic slave trade, from Europeans and blacks in the Americas. Nobody passed down that oral tradition. Your granny didn't tell you who you were. I'm so disappointed in her. She didn't tell you Look, I'm here to help you out. That they talk about while African slavery grew steadily from the middle 16th century in Brazil, indigenous slavery remained a source of manpower through the 17th century and even later in more remote regions as the Amazon basin. Do I need to read that again? While African slavery grew steadily from the middle 16th century in Brazil, indigenous slavery, talking about the people, the American Indians, remained a source of manpower through the 17th century and later in more remote regions of the Amazon basin. These were the first people, first Europeans that came over here. So they don't know what they're talking about. They don't have a clue. They're lost in the sauce. But I digress. Let's go on to the next part. Ladies and gentlemen, for those in the chat and boys and girls, I'm going to play a little clip. And you all let me know if you could hear this clip. Because I want to make sure. Wait, before I play that clip, can everyone see this? I'm blowing it up. I'm still trying to find the Native Americans that say they've been over here that look like these people on the mule of Bonaparte. My main man, Special K, in here, and he thought to tell you copper color K, hey, brother. The guy, I'll tell you, the grudge is here now, up in this camp. And Special K been telling y'all, been trying to tell those he been dealing with in the back chat for years now. Look at that, copper color K. Look at that. Look at that. And I'll tell you, Portuguese had said the dark is what they saw. But you don't have to believe me. Again, that's from the Brown University Library. So let's go on. I'm gonna play a little clip. Y'all let me know if y'all can hear this. I'm gonna come back to that.
And in this time, we remember that the knowledge about plants is like knowing where gold and diamonds and oil are later on in history. So Piso does this book. And what do you find when you see the book is that the Tupinamba and the enslaved Africans are there on these early sugar plantations at the same time. And they're exchanging knowledge with each other. Most of the book is about what he calls the simples, which are the medicinal plants, the herbal medicines of the Tupinamba. But occasionally you find a page like this one that's shown.
Let me stop right quick, because I want to make sure everybody can hear before I go any further. You all let me know if my sound is good out there. All right, you all let me know. Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear the video.
Diamonds and oil are later on in history. So Piso does this book. And what do you find when you see the book is that the Tupinamba and the enslaved Africans are there on these early sugar plantations at the same time. And they're exchanging knowledge with each other. Most of the book is about what he calls the simples, which are the medicinal plants, the herbal medicines of the Tupinamba. But occasionally you find a page like this one that's shown there, where he reports that the Africans are teaching the Indians how, or the indigenous people, how to use particular plants. And so you begin to get a notion of the plants that the Africans managed to bring over, or that were brought over in the slave ship, like sesame, eggplant, and okra. And you also get a sense of how the Tupinamba are teaching the enslaved Africans about some very important plants, usually maize, but also cassava, which is the bread of the Caribbean. It's the bread of the Tainos, it's the bread of the Brazilians. The terms that were being used by the Portuguese and the Dutch at this time were also interesting. They called the Tupinamba in the beginning, when they enslaved them, negros da terra. the blacks of this land. They called the Tupinamba in the beginning when they enslaved them, Negros da Terra, the blacks of this land. They called the Tupinamba in the beginning when they enslaved them, Negros da Terra, the blacks of this land.
For entertainment purposes,
And it's time to remember that the knowledge.
Go see that dude. I hope y'all heard her. Oh no, hold on. Let me we'll go back. Just in case y'all missed it. Let me go back there.
The Tupinamba in the beginning when they enslaved them, Negros da Terra, the blacks of this land. They called the Tupinamba in the beginning when they enslaved them, Negros da Terra, the blacks of this land. They called the Tupinamba in the beginning when they enslaved them, Negros da Terra, the blacks of this land.
Okay, I'm gonna let that marinate for just a little bit. So, when did it switch? When are all these people that are now claiming to be Native American, that they'll tell you that they were the first people here, and they can't explain to you anything about the vegetation that goes on here or the soil? And I'll say again, and I'll say again, the American Indians didn't eat buffalo. So who's eating the buffalo meat? I'm not knocking anybody now. If y'all eat buffalo meat now, then that's something y'all just do now. But I'm saying the ones that were here, the first Americans, the American Indians, did not eat buffalo. Why? Because buffalo would say, "Oh, give me a home where the buffalo roam, where the deer and the antelope play." Well, the buffalo, which came from Asia, migrated over here because they go wherever they can graze. Nomadic people, which are these people that are claiming to be Native, they may be Native American because they were born here, but they claiming to be, we're the American Indian. They can't be, because if you're living in teepees, which we were not living in teepees, teepees are for people that need to get up quick and move around, because that's where the food is going. That's why you keep seeing all these hunter-gatherers. Hunter-gatherers are not building pyramids. They're not doing it. Hunter-gatherers are not doing writings talking about the stars. Hunter-gatherers are not making calendars to line up with the heavens. They're not doing that. Why? Because they're busy going where the buffalo roam and where the deer and the antelope play. Do not let them fool you. Brother Copper Indio, that's the question that we have to keep asking. When did it change and where did it change? You have to start looking at these British. When the British started coming over here, again, we got to find out what was going on. We talked about this in years past. Look at all of the wars that were going on between these European countries. When and how did they have time to start kidnapping Africans, bringing them over here when they were all fighting amongst themselves? And then you read about all these ships that kept crashing over here, and some of them were over here that were so bad they were eating the wood off of their ships to try to survive. I told y'all about that Esteban the Moor that was coming over here, that Portuguese conquistador that was coming over here. We talked about the writings and everything that happened to De Soto. Come on, son. How are you coming over here and you conquering all these people over here, and you don't have a ship to even go back home? So eventually you're going to run out of ammo. You're going to run out of armor. Your armor is going to get rusty and stale. So, hey, again, my mother and grandmother and great grandmothers always said, baby, you may lose a fight out there on the streets, but you're not going to lose a fight in your house because you know where everything is. So if you lose a fight in your own house, I'm going to beat you up again. So now you're going to get your butt whooped twice. Read about, again, all of these different people. And the Garifuna will tell you they were never enslaved. They were never, and they try to say, oh, it's only a couple of thousand of them. No, it's not. There are a whole lot of Garifuna that are over here in the States that are now masking themselves as African American. And I'll give y'all one better. Why do you think Kamala, the Ugandan giant, the vice president, where did she go to make her speech and say, don't come here? She didn't go to Mexico and say, don't come over here. She went to Guatemala and said, don't come over here. Why? Because the people from Guatemala, the true people of Guatemala, the indigenous people of Guatemala, look like us because we're all the same people. So if they blending in with us and they changing their name to what we call westernized European names, how you gonna tell them apart if they don't talk? Didn't ODB from the Wu-Tang Clan tell you? He said, I saw a jet black kid started speaking Spanish. He said, where you from? You talking about Panama? He said, no, I'm from Panama. Come on, son. Come on, son. I hope y'all still with me because I don't have too much longer to go. I just wanted to touch on this because it's been a long time. Like I say, I definitely shouldn't have left you. And I apologize for leaving you. And I got a couple of more pictures that I wanted to show, but I can't show them because I know I'm going to get flagged. But there's one other clip that I want you to hear because I've been telling you, because some people out there have been still talking. They were talking crazy before, but they're not talking crazy now. And then they try to talk crazy again because they thought I was gone. Nah, not gone. So now, right back at it again, when you realize, I'm going to go back to the Department of HUD. Someone show me a HUD code. You won't find it, but you'll find PIH codes, public Indian housing codes. You'll find that, but you won't find a HUD code. You won't find a Native American code. You won't find any of that, but you'll find public Indian housing codes. Don't let them fool you, good people. Don't let them get away with what they're trying to do. That brother don't sell out. Could not be heard. Why is it? So they're taking your rights and you don't realize it because you want to be African American because that's the cool thing to do. But I shared before with Byron Allen. Everyone talks about, oh, he's not one of us. He's corny. How did he use the 1866 peace treaty between the United States government and American Indians to sue Comcast and win? I know, like I say, ladies and gentlemen that are in the chat, boys and girls that will be listening later on, y'all tell me how that happened. He couldn't be, he's in his videos, he'll say African American and he'll interchange it with black. But when you actually go to the writings of the lawsuit, it deals with the American Indian. So how did this very intelligent man, like I say, he's not the best comedian in the world, but if you know his story, Miss Parker, I've been in the lab with a pen and a pad trying to get this label off. Nowadays, everybody want to talk like they got something to say. When it comes out, when they move their lips, just a bunch of gibberish. But they forgot about James Flames. That's why I've been, Miss Parker. How you doing, Miss Parker? That's why I've been in the lab. Because I know people are trying, they keep trying to come back and they trying to come back and say you're not American Indian. And then they'll try to change the narrative, they'll change the subject. It's like, oh no, that's not what I said. What I said then, he don't know what he talking about. And then when I go into the archives and I start pulling these videos up when we were all on the panel together, then brothers get quiet and they get scarce. But I digress. Let's go on and keep having this discussion on what is the blacks of this land that she's talking about. And again, how did Byron Allen put all this together to sue Comcast and win? I know you all don't want to talk to me. I know you all don't want to hear from me. So let's go back and I hope this channel doesn't get flagged for this. But let's go. Let's hear before we start. Let's hear Dr. Claude Anderson. Let's talk to Dr. Claude Anderson. I'm just gonna play a little clip, and I'm gonna do this. Fair use. I don't want to fair use. So I don't want anyone coming back. Oh yeah, the Breakfast Club, and don't you do it, Charlemagne. The guy with the little G. Don't you try to do it. Angela Yee, DJ Envy. Don't try to do it. I'm just gonna play this little clip. Dr. Claude Anderson, and I want you all to hear what Dr. Claude Anderson is telling you, who's much more intelligent than I am, has dealt with the United States government a lot longer than I've been alive. So let's delve into what he has to say, shall we?
My homegirl Stacey Shells, he's a superintendent in Chicago. You know what I mean? So yeah, like
make sure y'all can hear that.
We'll definitely reach out.
Okay, can I count on you all to just raise some hell, demand something?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
We're having you on radio going to start, and we're going to need you to come up here more frequently.
It's going to be black educators watching this right now saying, yes, we need those books in our school.
That's right. Thank you. No. And tell black kids that right now, it was up until 1948. No white author would put anything about blacks in books. Wouldn't do it. That's why when I examined all the books in the state of Florida, I said, you got to change this. That's why I got lawsuits right now, 1866 Indian treaties. I found out most black didn't know that those Indian treaties were for black folk. And even though Obama, every year he was in office, he called 564 white Indian chiefs that come to the White House, give them everything they want.
Is that why you use the term Native blacks?
That's right.
African Americans?
That's right, Native blacks. And I want to help all blacks on earth. But if you don't use the word Native blacks, you shoot yourself in the head.
Gotcha.
Because if you say African American, the first human beings came out of Africa. Anybody on earth that comes to America is an African American. You can be white, come from Europe tomorrow, you're an African American.
That makes total sense.
See the part where he gets to talk about going back to that out of Africa theory. But I'm gonna go back to another part. Let's go back to this part where he says this. I don't want that to be missed.
And even though Obama, every year he was in office, he called 500. Thank you. And tell black kids that right now, it was up until 1948. No white author would put anything about blacks in books. Wouldn't do.
What did he say up to 1948? What started happening in 1948? And what started coming on in the 1950s that they didn't have to take place until really started getting into when they had to do it by law in the 1971, and that was desegregate, because there wasn't no integration. Desegregate the schools, and this is why I talked about this critical race theory. They want to put on Black History Month, and then they always hit you with somebody and it's blah blah blah, former slave, such former slave, such son of slaves. Everybody over here wasn't a slave. A whole lot of us are still free. And if you've been doing your genealogy, you're gonna find where it says free persons in such a state. You're gonna keep finding that. Then it started changing. And we know what took place in 1921 dealing with Walter Plecker. But we know they started going into this and that, and all of a sudden it started breaking it down. This, and now you're that, and now you're that. Now I want to go back to Ms. Parker's question before I play this clip again. Ms. Parker, Negras, it just means black. So this is what the first Europeans started calling us. Just every time you place it, just say black. They were just saying blacks. But the blacks of this land, we had tribal names. We had names of our different clans. And so when you start finding out the name of who you are and what clan you're from, what tribe you're from, what people you're from, then you can understand that black was the label given to describe who the people were and their skin. That's all it is. Negras is just black. So that's why with the Negras, the Negro, to everything else. But we were already over here, and they were using. Nobody wants to have this discussion, but we got to have this discussion that the original conquistadors were Moors that were in Spain and in Portugal. Well, how do you think they got? Oh, how do you? It's like when there's a great exodus of a land of a certain people, there has to be a great influx in another land. So where did these Moors go? You'll find them, like I said, all of them have these different Portuguese and Spanish names, but they coming over here under the auspices of, and you'll find out what happened. That's why I'll go back and say Esteban. Find out what happened to Esteban, because the blacks, the Negros, the terrorists, the blacks of this land, when they saw the people that they said, oh, you look like us, but you sound like them, but we'll accept you because you look like us. Then you find out that Esteban was nothing but an Oreo cookie, and they killed Esteban. It's a whole lot of that was going on because they were blending in with us. That's why I say all skin folk ain't kin folk. Blending in, some of these folks are these colonizers that were coming over here in blackface. That's why we got to be mindful of these things. So no, the Negros just means the blacks is just describing the color. So take out Negros and just put black. So when you just put in black, you can say, yeah, you can say, yes, I'm black, but I'm of such and such tribe. I'm Black Indian, but I'm from such and such tribe. And the Black Indian has to be used to separate us from those that are claiming to be Native American. And what Dr. Clark Anderson is saying, that and we talked about it before, they would get these principal chiefs, these superintendents, these white people. The United States government would use white people to be in charge of the American Indians. You could only be, and that's why it still applies today. If it's too many of us in a group, oh, you loitering, you a gang. And then here comes 5-0. The laws haven't changed that against us. I said, you can't assemble like that. Just get together with somebody, get together with your people on the corner and not doing anything. You just sitting out there and talking. The rules haven't changed. The laws haven't changed. The thing about it is, we want to be hip, and we want to turn around and say, oh, we're African American. African American has no status in law. You have no status in law. You can't, because African American is equivalent to you were descendants of slaves that came from Africa. And what did they tell Dred Scott? What did the judge say? Huh? What did he say to Dred Scott, who went to court? And you're going to start seeing a whole lot of American Indians that were taking white people to what people try to classify as white people's court. And we were winning. We were winning. If you go back, I say, go all the way back, go into the 1700s, 1800s. We were winning court cases. These are documented cases that you'll find in the Library of Congress, that you'll find in all these universities, these Ivy League schools. They know the truth. We don't. Again, hide the truth in the book, because people like us, people of color, or whatever you want to call yourselves, we don't read. We don't read. Thank you, Miss Parker. Those Pan-African. You have no rights over here. If you talking about you a Pan-African, as you an African-American, you have no rights in law. That's why you go back and listen to Club Nouveau. Why you treat me so bad? Why they treat you so bad? Why they do you the way they do? Because they know they can, because you're taking the status of a minority. You have no claim to anything over here. Because you're saying, I tie back to Africa. And when you do that, or the Africans, or they saying, oh, are all of these people opening up their coast to say, come back home, my brother. but they want you to go on tours. They want you to spend $6,000, $8,000 to go through the port of no return when they have the cannons facing inland and not the cannons. I mean, they have the cannons facing to the waters and not inland. So if you kidnapping folks from Africa, why wouldn't they have the cannons facing inland to shoot the tribes and the warriors that were coming to get their kidnapped kinfolk? Why are the cannons facing? Why are the cannons facing the waters? I'm gonna bust some bubbles again. You're gonna find out that those that they call the Tupinamba actually were taken to Africa to build these forts and these castles in West Africa, which is why you will see the same looking structures in West Africa that you do in the Americas, but the structures that were in the Americas were first. And they try to tell you, oh, they built this stuff in Africa and this and that and blah, blah, blah. Okay, why weren't any of these structures done until later on? And when we start getting into modern history within the last 500, 400, 500 years, why weren't Africans building up all this stuff over there then? And then all of a sudden now, you call yourself, we did it in Africa first. No, you didn't. You're going to find out. Like I said, you don't have to believe me. Go and do your own research. You're going to find out the Tupinamba were taken in ships. These were the same ones that Christopher Columbus took back when he remember, he didn't get all the way in. These were these Arawak, Carib, whatever different names of different people, whatever they call themselves, but they all tell you where they come from. And remember, these Arawaks were the same ones that were all along North, what we call North America. Better yet, you don't have to believe me. All you have to do next time you get a vacation, don't go to Cancun. I keep telling you, go to Chichen Itza, go to Belize, go to Guatemala. Don't go to Cancun. Don't go to Cancun to get your hair braided. We've been braiding hair forever. Didn't have a license until now. All of a sudden, you got to have a license to braid hair. Come on, son. The little girls been braiding hair on the porch since they came out of their mother's womb. Now all of a sudden, you got to have a license to braid hair. Come on, son. So all you got to do is go talk to the people, and they'll tell you. The people that were here that think that they African American, Pan Africans, what do you want to call yourself? They will tell you you're Mississippi Maya. That's why when all of these archaeologists and historians talk about the Maya and the Mississippi, they never talk about what they look like. They'll tell you that the structures are older than any other structures in North, Central, and South America, but they won't tell you who the people are. They'll leave you guessing, and they'll say, well, we don't know how they did that, and we don't know how they did this. That's a lie from the pits of HE-double hockey sticks. And you're going to find out, yes, sir. That's the deal, Brother Copper, because we went over there. We did a series before when we were talking about how is it that West Africans are speaking the Cherokee language. Why? Because you already had American Indians that were going to Africa first, to build up Africa first. We did a series before talking about maize, corn, and they keep talking about Nigerians, but the Nigerians tell you that they came from the red corn or the red maize. Where is maize? You don't find maize is not indigenous to West Africa. Maize is not indigenous to India, or what they call Turkish wheat, which is corn, which is maize. It was over here, and it's a man-manipulated crop. So explain to me how these Nigerians, the ancient Nigerians that know the truth, that say we came from the land of the red corn, they're telling you where they come from. Come on, son. Come on, son. But let me go back to the doctor. Let me see them again.
Good. That's why when I examined all the books in the state of Florida, I said, you got to change this. That's why I got lawsuits right now, 1866 Indian treaties. I found out most people didn't know that those Indian treaties were for black folk. And even though Obama every year he was in office, were for black folk. And even books in the state of Florida. I said, you got to change this. That's why I got lawsuits right now, 1866 Indian treaties. And I found out most people didn't know that those Indian treaties were for black folk.
And this is why all of these so-called black towns, they call Negro towns, were coming up because these were Indians. It was Indian territories. I'm talking about Black Wall Street. You have to remember, quote unquote, Black Wall Street was established when Oklahoma wasn't a state. It was still Indian territory. Come on, son. And you'll find out where I am here in what they call North Texas, North Central Texas. That was part of Indian territory, just like it was down to the south in the Houston area. And you're going to find out a lot of these Garina Group, Garifuna, are down in the Houston area, just like they ended up in New York. Well, how they end up in New York? Because now I'm going to hit it home, dealing with the Pequot Wars. Brother Cop was in here during the Pequot Wars. What happened to those prisoners of war? Some of them they left in the land and enslaved them in that land. But the majority of them, they'll tell you, because they were so ruthless and so scared of them, they shipped them to the Caribbean islands and to South America. Y'all look at the Pequot Wars. You don't have to believe me. They'll tell you where they shipped them. And so now you're going to find out they were shipping. And so now, later on, here comes these British talking about, oh, these are Africans we shipping in. No, they're not. There were people that were on in North American soil dealing with the Pequot, and I'm going to talk about that on another live. And I'm going to give you proof from the people that know that when they turn it around and they're coming and they're shipping them to the Caribbean. And then they talk about, oh, we shipping in these Africans. No, you're not. Again, look at the timelines. Go back and find out who were all these Europeans were fighting each other. So when did they have time to build ships and go kidnap Africans? Come on, son. You had them Africans that were coming over here. They were coming over here, but they were coming over here to be landlords. They were coming over here to be conquerors, conquistadors, colonizers. Come on, son. See, that brother Copper. I'll tell you about that grudge. I told you. Next time, what we're going to do, I'm going to open it up next time because I don't want to keep everybody. We're going to open it up and we're going to have a family reunion. And y'all going to come up here. I'm going to give y'all the link. And the next time we do this, probably going to be Sunday. So mark your calendars. And y'all come up in here. Brother Copper, come on. You're going to have to come on up in here. Brother Kerry, you got to come on up in there. Brother No Sellout, you got to come back up in there. And Sister Gabrielle Union, over there with all the, don't you open up all these windows when you come up in here, because I'm going to kick you out. You all have to come up in here. Because I don't want to seem like I'm the only one to know what I'm talking about. So I'll say y'all let me know what y'all schedule look like. But I want to put that out there. I wanted to play Dr. Claude Anderson, and you heard what he said, and everybody getting mad, what he said about dealing with President Obama, because everybody looking like, you know, he's doing stuff because he cut a knee in there, he's doing his thing in there. But then he was ripping us as American Indians, removing us from who we are. People didn't like the former president. I call him 45. The 45 king, whatever y'all want to call him, but he was putting American Indians, or what you call Black American Indians, back in their proper status. Well, I tell folks, back in May, everybody was so excited about celebrating the lovings, and they forget it wasn't a white man trying to marry an African slave. It was a white man, a European man that was trying to marry an American Indian. They never tell you that part of the story. They keep trying to slide her in because what they call the Black Power movement, and wanted to make her from Africa. But her kids and grandkids will tell you no. And go look at the marriage license. It tells you she was Indian. Come on, son. Miss Parker was a part of Mexico, but before it was Mexico, it was dealing with the Wichita, what you call Washita. When you get to Wichita, Kansas, Wichita Falls, Texas, Washita, Waco, Waxahachie are all the same people. Natchez, I told you about the Natchitoches. I told you about the Natchez, which is brother no sellouts people, that they were the ones doing the building. And when the Europeans came, they said they have such fortified buildings that when we hit them with our best cannons, we still can't put a dent in the wall. And you'll see these same structures that are now the buildings of these universities. These Europeans weren't coming over here building these universities like that. They weren't coming over here, as we already know, we built the Capitol and the White House. Why are these universities when you pull up with those big pillars like that? Come on, son. Do not let the smooth taste fool you. Exactly, Brother Carpenter. He talking about Crispus Attucks was an African slave. He was not. He was a descendant of Massachusetts, where you get Massachusetts, the Delaware, the Lenape, Nanticoke, Nantucket. These are all the same folk. And remember what happened, what they did in the Boston Tea Party in the Boston Harbor. What did they dress up like? They said they dressed up like the American Indians that were there in the Boston area, which is why you get into, people don't understand how it later translated into putting on blackface. They put on blackface. Come on, son. There are no people around here talking about, man, I'm Native American and I'm chief, sit high and look low, and now I'm the chief of the Cherokee in Oklahoma. Come on, son. Come on, son. Do not let the smooth taste fool you. Thank you, Brother Copper. Beer. Crispus Attucks. They keep trying to tell you, oh, daddy was slave and daddy was and mama slave, and that's why. No. Because when you think about it, he was an expert fisherman. He was a shipman. So if he was African and a slave, why wouldn't he just get one of those ships and take it to Africa? Why was he determined to stay in the land? Why do they call it a Boston Massacre? Why do you only hear about Crispus Attucks, but you don't hear about the other men that died? Because Crispus Attucks was royalty. It was an extension of what we call King Philip's War. Because he was a descendant of he was the next one. He was the sachem, as you call it, or cacique. He was the next one to be in charge of the people. He had to be eliminated. And we are still fighting this war with Europeans today. So you wonder why the police are killing you? You ain't figured it out. It's still a continuation of this war. The war never ended. They used an American Indian, Crispus Attucks, as the catalyst to do the Revolutionary War, and they cleaned everything else out during the War of 1812. They started wiping us off the books, calling us African. Come on, son. Why all this stuff going on? Remember, the British in 1805, they abolished slavery. So where are the slave ships coming from? Then you have to look at America was bankrupt after the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812, which was still a continuation of the same war, but still a continuation of King Philip's War. The United States was bankrupt. Morocco and France bailed them out. But in the process of France bailing them out, France went bankrupt. But you have the illegal Louisiana Purchase. All this going on was led to the Haitian Rebellion that they talk about all these Africans. No. These were the Maroons, the Caribs, the Arawak, taking back their rightful land. Because why would you overthrow, watch this, why would you overthrow the French? And if you knew you were African, why did you, when you overthrew the French and defeated them, why didn't you take those French ships and go back to Africa? Come on, son. Let's just follow the logic. Yes, you right, Miss Parker. All these HBCUs, African American now. All of them African American now.
like I said, I appreciate the great doctor. If y'all didn't catch that, but I'm gonna go back to this. I'm gonna end this because I want to say those 20 and Odd Negras were from a stolen Portuguese vessel, and we already covered. The Portuguese are telling you we're just moving around the American Indians. And I know people that don't like that terminology, but all you have to do, Amerindian is nothing but American Indian, the words thrown together. And we already talked about auntie. And those people got mad about that one word. I never thought that one word outside of guilty in a court of law would make so many colored people upset. Auntie Suyu. But we can't talk about that though. I don't want to go. I don't want to stir up other stuff. But I'm going to come back again. I'm going to break it down again. I'm going to break it down slowly. But I appreciate y'all really tuning in, ladies and gentlemen. I really, really do. I'm going to end this evening because I know, and you know, and we know that everything ain't all that is cracked up to be. So don't let these people keep fooling you into thinking that, wait, you know what? Let me do this. I'm sorry. I wasn't gonna play it, but I'm gonna do one more. I got to play this. I'm gonna see if I have it in there. I'm just gonna put this up here for y'all to see. Y'all see that? I just want to put that up there. I want y'all to see that. This is what happened with these African Americans, these Pan Africans, and everybody else is trying to tell you who they are. All you have to remember is look at them. Look at them. But he wanted to do hood rat stuff with his friends, and they still doing hood rat stuff. All they doing is they just coming here on YouTube, they taking it off the streets, and they putting it on social media, but they still walking around here doing hood rat things. And that's all they're going to continue to do is hood rat things because that's all they know. When my grandmother said, you know, when you know better, you do better. They can't do better if they don't know better. And that's the problem. That's the problem. So I bid you all adieu, farewell, and in the words of Russell